four-letter acronym for the thing that I want to join and expend funds for. I feel like if I'm telling people, I need to know what it is, and it's IE something. All right, I would like to call this December 2nd, 2020 meeting of the Sewer Port and Commerce Advisory Board to order. Board Member Paquette, would you like to...
Do we need to call in the members?
Oh, my apologies, I missed. I thought that was a roll call. My apologies. I was distracted.
Karen, dial the number and then hit call. Okay. Just dial 1-800 and the rest of the number. And then the middle button. Yep, up there. Yep. And then it'll ask for your access code and the chair button.
Welcome to the GCI Conference Center. Please enter your access code followed by the pound sign. Thank you. Please stand by. If you are the chairperson, press the star key now. Please enter your chairperson passcode, then pound.
Okay.
You will now be placed into conference. There are 3 participants in the conference.
Okay. All right, pledge then. Board Member Paquette, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Chair Snyder?
Yes.
Bruce Jaffa? Carl Hughes?
Yes.
Colby Lawrence? Linda Paquette?
Present.
Aaron Lemus?
Here.
Benjamin Smith?
Present.
And then who was the third person on the call? Well, it said there was 3, but I only have 2 people on the call.
You were one of them.
Oh, I see. So you have a quorum, Madam Chair?
Thank you very much. Okay, citizens' comments on any subject except those items scheduled for public hearing. Do we have any public comments?
We do not have any public comments.
We do not. Okay, thank you very much. That brings us to the approval of the agenda and consent agenda.
I'll make a motion, we approve the agenda and consent agenda.
I'll second.
Thank you very much. Any changes that anyone would like to make to the agenda? Hearing none, can we get a roll call?
I just have a question.
yes,
Do we
yep.
have fire department scheduled to be here?
Yes,
Okay.
they will be here.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Lawrence? Oh, he's not present. Carl? Hughes?
Yes.
Vote on the agenda?
Can you hear me?
Yep, I got you. Smith?
Yes, I'm approved.
Smith?
Yes.
Lemus?
Yes.
Paquette?
Yes.
Chair Snyder?
Yes.
You have a unanimous vote.
Thank you very much. All right, that brings us to special orders, presentations, and reports. First up on our list is the Alaska Railroad report by Christy Terry. We have her written report in the packet. Is she also planning to?
Yeah, I can check on that.
Perfect. Thank you.
The conference has been unmuted.
Hello, this is Christy.
Hi, Chrissy. We're calling for your railroad report.
Great, thank you. Hello, Chair, members of administration. You have my written report in the packet. I really don't have anything to add, but I'm available to answer questions if there are any.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions from the board?
I have one.
Board Member Paquette.
I'm just curious if you're hearing anything new from the cruise ship industry, because I've gotten several international cruise ship customers who were booked for 2021 who have now moved their bookings to 2022. So I'm just wondering if that's something that's happening and we know about it, or do we not know about it yet?
Two things that I'm following from today is that, Canada put out a notice that they're going to keep their borders closed until there's more of a containment of COVID. So that we are really watching that because, all our ships, due to, international acts, we do have to watch that Canada piece. The second thing is I just saw a notice today of more cruise lines canceling through February, March, April of next year, which, doesn't cancel any of our sailings. That's still before the Alaska sailings, but we're definitely watching that. We want as many of those sailings to happen before our season, just so that we can, they can be the guinea pigs and, work out some of the glitches. On the flip side of that, so that's kind of the Debbie Downer piece, the good news is all these folks are working behind the scenes. We have the Healthy Sail panel, which I've provided to the board. I met with a regional task force today. I clued into a webinar about protocols and, turn ports. So, people are working and getting things in place so that we will be ready to responsibly handle those cruise ships and tour, and it's basically all tourism, prior to next season. I went online and looked at the Premier website, and they show the mitigations that they're taking. So really, right now, we're just in a holding pattern. A lot of things were on hold during the election, and now are starting back up again. ATIA is working on some protocols and procedures, and they're expecting to have those out by the end of December. So we will really know a lot more, hopefully by the next Port and Commerce Advisory Board meeting.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions from the board? Anyone on the phones with a question for the port manager? So Christy, I just had one question for you. When I gave my report to council and we were talking about the vessel property tax, you had mentioned that there were some vessels that were not coming to Seward specifically because of that. And I was wondering if you wanted an opportunity to speak to that as the port manager and if that's where that information was coming from, because we are going to be talking about our priorities for next year at the upcoming work session. So just wanted to give you a chance to maybe speak a little bit more to that topic.
Yeah, and actually, it was in, it's not so much my property or the railroad property because our docks provide a different function. We do have a lot more turnaround. It was Cook Inlet Tug and Barge, I know that from the last, even that marine meeting we had, that was kind of either the first or second priority of that group. So it might be interesting to, this board might want to reach out to the chamber and reach out to a couple of those other larger vessel folks, because I know some of them are actually going to Homer because Homer has that flat tax as opposed to ours. So that was just in meeting with that one group, and we can talk about more maybe offline, or maybe the chair wants to meet with the chamber and folks.
Yeah, okay. So as far as freight operations and at the freight dock, if a vessel happened to be laid up against the freight dock when the assessor came to town, could that potentially be a problem?
I don't think so. I've
Okay.
never heard that that was a problem.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Thank you for your time.
Okay, you guys have a good meeting. I'm watching online.
All
Have a
right.
good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And next up, we have our report from the Executive Director of the Chamber, Jason Bickling.
Do you want me to sit from here?
Oh.
Can you guys hear me okay, or? does that
Could
work?
you come up to one of the mics here?
Sure.
Perfect. Thank you.
I just wanted to just mention a few highlights that were not on my report that you guys do have. We did have the Shop Small weekend this last weekend, and that went really, really well. We heard just overwhelming positivity from our businesses, that a lot of them did better than they did that same weekend last year, which was really great. And then also just got some feedback from some of our artists and makers who we allowed to kind of like set up in shops just because they did not have the craft fair that they would normally set up in, and they really appreciated the inclusivity there. So, but that went really well. And then also to our Cyber Monday Facebook Live event, it went, 3/4 of it went well, and then the power went off. But but it still was really positive, and just gave people an opportunity to shop online, and it was really fun. And so I think those are, both those were great. So I just wanted to just thank just the people that really put a lot of effort into that, including my staff and just some community members, and so business owners. And then the other thing is that Tim Dillon from Cape Head has asked the chamber to kind of put together a call, and we're going to be speaking with kind of a call and presentation of what's been going on in Seward, and where we're at on some things, and then also what opportunities we see for the future. And we're going to be speaking, kind of presenting to Alan Weitzner from ADA, and so this next week. So that will be good. And so you're going to be involved in that. So we appreciate that, and we have other kind of members. Norm and Steve are going to be involved in that, and then some other business owners as well. So that's going to be kind of a great opportunity for us to showcase what we're doing and to highlight some of the things that we're looking forward to in this next in the coming years here. So.
Awesome. Thank you. Any questions for the chamber from the board? I'm just looking to make sure I didn't miss it on here. I might have, but I was just curious when the first winter weekend is going to be, or if I've missed that. Or are you doing the winter weekends this year, like the highlighting, trying to get people to come down?
Like kind of this last weekend was, I guess, one of our first winter weekends,
right.
And then we're just kind of taking things as they go, just with the current events, and wanting to invite a lot of people down here at certain times and that kind of thing, and so we're just kind of monitoring that. We are having fireworks on New Year's Eve though, so we're thankful for, we've had 4 local businesses that have stepped in to kind of sponsor that. So we're excited about that because we feel like that's something that no matter how things are going, people can come out and do safely and watch fireworks. And so that's going to be exciting for our community and our businesses as well. So.
Awesome. Former Kat?
How about Polar Bear Jump Off? Have we heard anything about that?
I have not heard anything from that group yet. So, yeah.
Because I would assume that would be the next winter weekend.
Yeah, yeah.
If they do it.
Yeah,
And
so,
then
but, yeah.
Valentine's Day is the one after that, I'm
Right.
assuming.
Yeah, and so yeah, no one's reached out to me from that group yet. So.
Awesome. Any other questions from the board? All right, Jason, thank you for being here, and thank you, as always, for the very detailed reports.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. Harbor Master Regis, thanks for being with us. I know
Yeah.
you're busy these days.
Yeah. So you have my report in there. I just want to touch up on a couple things. A couple more barges showed up here to tie up for the winter, and they're 3 months late, 2 months late from what they said. So Matt has sent them to the railroad, and they wanted to go to North Dock. The North Dock's already been scheduled for the Coast Guard buoy tender and the Navy ship coming. So that was out. So I said they're either going to a buoy or they call the railroad to tie up over there. I'm not exactly sure if they went or what they're doing. And then on Thursday, the Coast Guard, the surveyor's coming down, so we're going to be surveying the property out there for where the Coast Guard's going. We can get that moving. And of course, the Coast Guard guy's going to do a presentation on the 14th meeting to council, talk about the land. So that's coming up. And the polar bear. So the lady from the Cancer Society from Anchorage called me last week, and they're going to run it, not the local Seward group. So she's asking a bunch of questions. I had them contact the fire department. The fire department doesn't know how they can help them. So she's doing this by herself, so I don't know where we're at. I told her you don't have much time. It's actually 6 weeks away if you're looking at it that way. But I don't think bringing a bunch of people, my personal opinion, to bring a bunch of people down from Anchorage standing on the dock and, and can't find no divers right now. That's a big thing. Just my train of thought there. So they were talking about having people from their own households as their tower buddies. So there would be the contact will be there already. So that they were talking about that. Talking about safe distance. I said you need kind of a mitigation plan to bring before us to let us know. And so she's working on it. So we'll see what they come up with. But I don't think it's going to happen because we can't get any divers. So we don't know divers, and the fire department can't help. So we'll see where it goes.
Okay. Any questions from the board for the harbor master? Just the damage section of X-Float, what is the prognosis on that?
So, Spinard Building Supply had the materials. They're down in Seattle, and so they're supposed to be getting shipped up here in the next Spinard barge coming in. Maybe the railroad dock can let me know when it comes in. Hopefully it doesn't have to go all the way over to Kenai or Anchorage, then Kenai, then back here. We'll see whenever it gets here. The bolts and stuff we get from Alaska Boat in Anchorage. And then when guys are ready for repair, we're ready. We're just waiting on the materials. We'll get that dock up to full strength. We're trying to limit the edge of the dock. That's why we weren't doubling up on barges, because of the weakened dock. So
once the dock is repaired, you would double up on barges if the
not the whole
opportunity
length,
presented? Okay.
just on the end, because it has the extra piling on the end.
Right. Okay. Any other questions for the harbor administration? No? Okay, thank you very much. And now that brings us to our special presentation from P&D Engineers on the North Harbor launch ramp replacement. Thank you so much for being here, and I'd like to turn the floor over to you.
We're going to try easier. We also have some 11 by 17 sheets we could pass around if that'd make it easier during the
That would be great.
presentation.
Thank you.
These were actually included in the packet.
Yeah.
Yep.
These are just some bigger copies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I use a bigger copy.
And then can we get Paul Sear on the line as well? The fishing game.
Take one of these.
If you guys want to give me a second, I'll call your DNR
Okay.
guy.
Now I can read this little box.
Okay, so now that's the first page. Okay, now here comes the second page.
Is this a third page?
Yes, that's the parking lot layout.
That should be
I
parking lot.
just need the parking lot.
Yeah. Parking lot right there.
Hi, this is Paul.
Okay, I've got this one.
Hi, this is Karen from the clerk's office calling you for the backup meeting.
Yeah, I'm watching it now.
Okay, we're just starting the presentation, so I've got you on hold for when they ask you to talk.
Okay.
Or got you online.
So, are there three of
Can
these
you
big
mute
sheets?
your,
Yeah, you-
turn your volume down in your background, please?
Yep.
Should be 1, 2, and 3 in the corner.
Yeah, you'll need to turn your computer down.
This is the same as this one. You need
Okay.
another one.
There should be option 1, option 2,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then there's a parking lot, which is actually labeled as O1. But
Yep. Okay, these are good. Got it.
Did you guys have an extra
They
set?
look similar, but they're different.
Can you use this? Do you have another set? of one?
Extra one.
Yeah, there's a full set.
Just
At the end, okay. That works.
Okay, Paul, you guys are good to go?
Good to go? Well, good afternoon. My name is Chip Courtwright. I'm with PND Engineers. Joining me today is Paul Kendall and Nathan Harris, also with PND. And we have Paul Sear on the line with Alaska Department of Fish and Game, the Sports Fish Division. Paul's online just to really answer any questions that you might have about the grant that the City of Seward is using for the engineering and then the construction of this project. And we have a brief presentation, really just using this as an opportunity to start our public involvement process, use it as a kickoff for that, to present the options and alternatives that we've developed here initially, and then solicit input from the board and then the public as well. Just to provide a little bit of background on the project, PND, we were contracted by the Alaska Department of Fish and Game to provide engineering services for this project. Fish and Game, they're actually paying for all of our services, and then they've entered into a cooperative agreement with the City of Seward to fund 75% of the actual construction costs for the project. Right now, we have two alternatives that we've developed to really renovate the existing ramp, and I'll get into that in a little bit later, but I kind of want to just give an overview of the general features that are common to both of the ramp alternatives. A lot of the details will be really similar to the new South Harbor ramp. We'll have precast concrete surfacing with V grooves, heavy timber, glue laminated floats, pile restraints, a concrete approach with a vertical curve that helps with backing up trailers and pulling things out. But we will be actually lengthening the ramp to go down to about -7.5. It's about the same elevation that the South Harbor ramp was extended to, just to provide better access during all tides. So the first option that we're presenting is essentially a replace in kind. The fish cleaning float will stay in its current location, probably pushed offshore a little bit. We're actually extending the overall length of the floats by a little bit. The widths of the lines themselves will be about nominally 16 foot. We will not be able to incorporate rumble strips to designate lanes, which is one of the features that we provided on the South Harbor launch ramp. And it's kind of nice just so people know if they're getting out of track that they're not in their correct lane. Second option, if we can move
Yep.
forward. We would actually reduce the number of floats themselves, keep the same number of lanes, so we'd have 2 floats, 4 lanes. We'd incorporate, just due to the constraints and the widths, we can actually incorporate the lane designating rumble strips, and then we'd relocate the fish cleaning float away from the floats themselves to kind of separate the 2 activities. And I think that's about all I have. Do you guys have any questions on those options? Paul's going to delve into the uplands parking a little bit more there.
Yeah, I think the format's to finish the presentation first.
Okay.
Okay, hello, Chair Snyder, members of the board. For the record, my name is Paul Kendall. I am with P&D Engineers as well. I was going to discuss the improvements that we're proposing for the uplands portion of the project, which is the 3rd slide in the deck we provided. The main improvements to the parking lot is to provide a 3-inch paved section where there's not pavement right now. So basically to pave the entire area, which is just under 2.5 acres of additional pavement from what's there today. We would reuse the existing pavement to the extent that we can. And then also to add an oil water separator to the stormwater outlet, which would help to treat any of the stormwater discharges and improve water quality in the harbor itself. Now beyond that, the fun part is actually probably the striping plan. And one of the big things pavement allows is striping and marking a lot, so you can provide some order and traffic flow to it. And that's really what the diagram in front of you and on the screen captures. Just to talk about some major highlights of that parking area. The main thing is it would constrain traffic to a one-directional flow, so people would always be going in a loop in the same direction. It would provide approximately, this current layout, 87 12 by 50 stalls and 4 12 by 70 stalls for extra long vessels, as well as ADA accommodating stalls, and then a number of passenger, just vehicle stalls as well. Although primarily the intention here is most of the passenger vehicles would use the lot to the south that's on the other side of the railing in that area right now. So mostly focusing on vessel accommodation here in trailers. I did not bring a pointer, so it'd be a useful time to have. We have, and this is, the lines on these figures are really just striping.
I have a cursor.
It's something, yeah, there you go. So about where you have your cursor there, we're also providing area for queuing. So as folks pull in, they can pull off and get their vehicles ready. The other term for that's a make-ready area. Can accommodate 2 or 3 boats, so that they can get on and off the ramp a little faster and keep the traffic moving. I think that's really the main highlights. We do have extra wide stalls on this, or excuse me, extra wide aisles, and they're wide enough to accommodate a travel lift, so it can make the southern entrance to it's Exit Marine's boatyard right now. So we've tried to allow for that too, so you're not limited to the northern entrance there. The other part I was going to talk about real quick, an important part of this presentation was to bring the public into the process, certainly the advisory board's opinions as well. And we're collecting public comments until January 4th. We're providing a few different ways to do that. Comments in general can be mailed or emailed. You could contact the harbor, and Norm, Harbor Master, will see that we get those comments as well. You can call P&D Engineers at 561-1011. Nathan Harris, who's standing behind me, will be running point on collecting those comments and making sure they get addressed. You can also email Nathan at nharris@pndengineers.com, and we have a comment form that we will leave copies of at the Harbor Master office as well, so folks are welcome to take that and they can mail that in or fax it or email if they like as well. We're also going to try and make these documents we're showing today available somewhere on the city website. I haven't had a chance to talk to you about that yet, but we're going to make them available. Or you can use any of that contact information I provided to request them directly, and P&D is happy to send digital copies or paper copies for that matter if you need them. So that, I think that really concludes what we had prepared for remarks.
Okay. Board Member Paquette.
Earlier you said on option 1 that you wouldn't be able to provide rumble strips, but it looks like on the other option, rumble strips are included. So I'm just curious, why on option 1 no rumble strips?
We're kind of constrained on our site and the actual footprint, the width that we can use based on essentially what you currently have. By taking out one of the 6-foot wide floats and increasing the width of the second float in option 2, we can kind of offset that. So the rumble strips are only about a foot wide, so just basically making that trade. And then from a cost perspective, both options are about the same. Just for the launch ramp facilities itself, I think we're around 2.8 million. But the cost in the cost of relocating the fish cleaning float is offset by eliminating that third float that you currently have out there.
Okay, and then that was the other question, is if you could just describe what the significant difference is in the change of the cleaning station.
So what we would do is we'd move it off basically the footprint of the actual launch ramp facility itself. So you'd kind of have separate users and separate access. We'd create a new access point going off of the Barge Bay Company's little deck facility there. So we'd have a timber trestle that goes out to a 100-foot gangway. We'd install a new gangway landing float on the back end of the actual fish cleaning float, and then just relocate the entire thing.
Could I just touch up on what he was saying there? So one thing also too is right now the water runs underground there. We have an issue, we have to dig up, get permitting. Where option 2, the water will actually run down the ramp, and where everything would be accessible, and we wouldn't have to dig no more, none of that stuff like that.
Yeah.
And another option about option 2 is, right now a lot of vessels come in, they tie up right there, and they stay tied up there and clean their fish, and they're blocking the ramp. So with this option 2, it'll free up the ramp so people can just come and go much easier.
So is there a significant difference between the two options in price?
It's about $10,000 based on our preliminary
That's not
estimates.
significant
So it's
when
not
you're talking
significant.
about
Yeah.
millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, it seems like we should go with 2.
Do we have any questions or comments from the board members on the phone?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Yeah, Board Member Hughes.
Yes, I have a question. And first, let me give you direction of why I'm asking it. One of the reasons I don't particularly care to use the north ramp, even though it might be more convenient, is the existing ramp was quite a bit steeper than the other one, and the risk factor for having 3 to 4 boats that we can launch off of it seems a little high, so we use the south ramp most of the time, but there has been times when it could be the north ramp would be more convenient. Is there any change in the angle of the slope of this ramp by extending it?
No, we would essentially match the existing slope of the ramp. We'd keep it at about 13%. I think based on our as-built surveys of the ramp, you're at 12.9%. So the actual angle or slope of the ramp itself would not change. And that's basically similar to the existing or the new South Harbor launch ramp. The grade is kind of predicated by SOBA, which is State's Organization for Boaters Access, and so we're targeting these minimum or optimum slopes just to get vessels on and off the trailers. And what you have out there at the existing northeast ramp is within that range. So we're just going to match and keep with what you have.
Do you remember offhand, or Norm, do you know what the slope is of the south launch ramps, just for comparison?
I don't remember. I think he's actually talking about the top, which we are reducing the top level before we start breaking down.
Yes, and
that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, at the top of the ramp, we will be integrating a vertical curve just to improve your visibility and access, so you should be able to see your trailer as you're backing up.
That would be wonderful.
I think
so we won't have a hard break.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Madam Chair.
I think
that was Board Member Hughes' question is at the top, because everybody
Yeah.
knows at the top, it breaks down so fast you can't see it, so.
Yeah,
Yep.
and it gets a lot of the back tires up off the ground.
Yep.
You can have a
Yeah, so
triple
we'll do
axle
away with
trailer.
that.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it's quite interesting to see your back tires off the ground when you're trying to back a boat down a ramp that weighs 20,000 pounds.
Yeah, very disconcerting. Board Member Smith.
Thank you. So I would like to comment on option 2. I do think that makes a lot of sense from convenience and safety to keep the two activities separate. They're not similar, and it makes sense to keep fish cleaning away from the launching. So a question related to that, will vessels be able to tie to the fish cleaning station?
I think that's really an operational question.
So that was brought up in one of our conversations, and there's bull rail around there now, so they can tie up. They're doing it now, even though we have signs not to do it. But at least as long as they stay off the ramp side, I don't see a problem with it. If it becomes an issue, then we'll deal with it at that time. But I think you can put 2 or 3 boats there, and they can offload their fish and clean them, and then go and launch and pull their boats. I think it should be no problem. As long as we don't have them tying up on that east side there, next to the where the trestle and the pedestrian ramp's going to be.
Okay. Thank you. And then on the parking lot, is this just going to be a complete bare asphalt lot with no curbs, or I don't see any sort of anything in here, curbs or lighting, or it's just
So at
paint?
this point in the, sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead. Thank you.
At this point in the design, we haven't really looked closely at grading details, lighting, anything like that. The estimate we have does not include additional lighting at this point, I can say that. We do have a little bit of money in our estimate for some curb work we assume will be needed near the ramp itself. But beyond that, the site drains pretty well as it is. So we don't foresee a need to make big structural changes to that lot to get things to work out.
Thank you. And then, sorry.
I was just going to answer a question about your line. We have that big high mast light over there, which lights up that entire area.
Thing, right?
Yeah, and there may be wheel stops. That's a matter for discussion still on how that would improve things.
Okay. And then if you could point out on here, well, okay. Answer my own question. I was going to ask where the oil separator was, but I see that's down.
It's just south of,
yeah,
I'm trying to remember the people, is that Parks and Rec that use that?
Coast Guard.
Coast Guard.
Coast Guard,
Sorry,
yeah.
okay. Yeah, Coast Guard that uses the building there, just south of that building. It would need to be accessed, we think, probably once a year. We try and size them so they don't have to be maintained very often.
And that would fall into Public Works to maintain that?
It would be either, Madam Chair, it would be Public Works or the harbor. But I know that Public Works is actually just, I believe they purchased it, I'm not sure, a vacuum truck. We can go there and vacuum that out and then process they did purchase it, thank you. So that'd be much easier they can just back up to it, vacuum it out, set it off to the side, on a site, however we process the waste and.
Excellent. That answers my questions. Thank you very much.
Board Member Paquette.
Could you just in layman's terms for the people that might be listening or watching later, just simply describe what's the advantage to going to the 4-lane 2-float configuration over the 4-lane 3-float?
So I think the primary advantage is just separating those users. So people that are actively loading and unloading using the launch ramp facilities, people using the fish cleaning floats wouldn't interfere with that activity. And currently you have people, as Norm was mentioning, that actually do tie up to the floats at the end of the string just so they can access and clean their fish. So trying to keep those users separate.
Okay.
I think maybe another thing to mention on that is the 2-float, there's less float to maintain over the years as well. So there's less long-term costs associated with the 2-float. I know it's always attractive to the harbors.
And then as Norm had mentioned, the water line maintenance. Yeah.
Right.
And another thing, it also widens the lanes. And if you remember the south launch ramp, it was 3 lanes also, but then we went to 2, we actually gained more space. And with them making it longer, we're going to gain more space at the end. It can launch at any tide.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it seems like 2 is the no-brainer, but.
I do have a couple of questions. What will the exterior of option 2 look like? What's it going to look like on the outside section of those lanes? Is it gonna be riprap? Is it gonna be,
It'll be riprap, yes.
Okay.
We'll have it'll be really similar to what you now have at the south launch ramp. We'll have a riprap shoulder. You'll have a lane designating rumble strip just at the end of your actual precast concrete planks, and then your riprap shoulder, and then riprap slope protection where we make any new cuts or fills.
okay? My next question is about access. For option 2, as you mentioned, it comes off of that bay barge dock, or they're decking there. Is that city property or is that private
So I was
property?
that's city property.
Okay.
He comes off 10 feet off there, and that thing I believe is 30?
Yeah.
30 feet. So he comes off 10 feet and still have, so we maintain it, we do the maintenance on it, and so it'll come off that section, so.
Gotcha. Have you reached out to them
I
about
have
this
not.
yet? Okay. I think
I
that
wanted
might
to see,
be,
I wanted to see where we're at
Right.
here before I
Right.
reached out and.
I think it just might be nice to give them a personal
understand.
heads up on where this is headed, because that's gonna put a lot more, I mean, it's probably good for them, puts a lot more traffic by their front door.
Yeah.
So, let's see, okay, the last question that I have is about the parking lot plan, and this is actually kind of a question for you as well, Norm. The Coast Guard station, when the Coast Guard moves across the bay, are they going to be keeping the station on this side of the bay, or will they be vacating that location?
So currently, they're talking about vacating it, which has to have a discussion with council, which is gonna be something they're gonna talk about maybe on the 14th.
Okay.
Not sure if they are or not, but they were gonna definitely move everything across the bay and then work with the city on that piece of property. I think it's probably gonna stay there and become a piece of city infrastructure, so. It's up to however council wants to dispose of the land.
I see. So you're saying the building would stay there, but it will become a piece of city infrastructure if the Coast Guard vacates it?
Correct. Instead of them having to tear it all down, bring the land back the way it was, I don't wanna, the city could use it as a piece of infrastructure for some city use,
Okay,
some good city use.
okay. So you foresee that lot staying intact as is?
Correct.
Okay, and that with this queue lane here, I mean, really technically that's what happens anyway, so I don't see it hindering access any more than it already does in the summertime. Is that,
So we do have a stop line there. Most people do not block their entrance, so which is nice, and if they only use one entrance in and out, leaving that one spot open, and most of the boaters that go there, they know the rules already, so they're not, I mean, I don't see people blocking it. I don't get any complaints from the Coast Guard about it, so.
perfect. Overall, I'd just like to say thank you. Thank you guys for making the time to come and for being flexible in your schedule since we had to cancel the last work session.
Madam Chair, I have one more question.
Oh, yeah, no problem. I was going to turn it back over. I just wanted to say how much I love the ideas. I love the angled parking. As someone who, as you mentioned, my yard is right next to it, and I watch people struggle day in and day out. And I think that'll be a really big improvement. So thanks for the work you put into this. Board Member Hughes.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My question is, I do, by the way, support the second one with the separated fish station. That makes perfect sense. That's what I figured it was all about anyway, to keep the vessel traffic from blocking that area. My question is about the engineering on the second strip. You show a rumble strip on the edge of the concrete aprons on both sides. And then you'll have some sort of item that's like a fence or concrete barrier. What is that that's referencing the edge of the floats on both sides? Floats the ramp.
That was the riprap shoulder that they were talking about.
Yep.
So there will be a rumble strip at the end of the precast concrete, and then there will be a riprap shoulder on either side.
Yep.
For reference, it's what is currently on the South Lodge ramps. It would be the same setup. Did you have something to add? Okay.
All right, thank you.
Board Member Paquette?
I'm just wondering how, what are we going to do to publicize the public comment period?
Okay, great question. So, we did read those ways to contact them into the record. At the harbor master's office, will these be posted, will the options be posted in the entryway at the harbor master's office?
We can post it. We're also gonna have a set of these plans there like we did last time.
Perfect.
People could come in, fill out the survey, and then as soon as we get the survey, my staff emails them up to P&D.
Okay.
Is there gonna be something in the paper maybe, or how are people gonna know that this comment period's open? That's
That's something we can look at.
Madam Chair.
City clerk has something.
I will. I'll assist in the distribution.
Yeah, in the
Perfect.
past, I think we were
Thank
able
you.
to rely on this meeting, and having it on the city's website was pretty effective against this.
good.
From this, Madam Chair, from last time we had, I don't know how many, but we did get some results back just from our meeting here that we had at PACAP, so we did get some people putting in their inputs.
Yeah, I just think, that given that it's this year, a little extra effort to make sure people are aware of it, because everybody's brain dead at this point, I think.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Do we have any other questions or comments from anyone on the phones? Anything that you'd like to leave us with?
No.
No? Okay.
So, I ask one thing, Madam Chair, do you need some kind of, like a direction now, or to think we'll go towards 1 or 2, or?
No, I think Chip could speak to the path from here.
Really, our intent at this point is just to put the options out, get public feedback, and then the beginning of January, we're gonna do another presentation, and based on that feedback, we'll come back with a recommendation from the harbor staff, from Fish and Game, and we'll present that as the preferred alternative that we would like to move forward with. So we want to make sure that we're being inclusive of any public comments to receive before we take a direction.
Perfect.
And then if you had any, but the financial question too, Paul Sears on the line, if they had any questions about the funding, I don't know if you had any or not, but just remind that he is on the line.
Okay. Thanks for sticking with us, Paul. I don't personally have any questions for you, but are there any questions from the board about the finances of the grant and what that looks like moving forward?
No.
No?
But I'm impressed with the work, and I think alternative 2 looks beautiful, and thank you.
Thank you. I guess, Norm, a question for you is I saw, this is skipping ahead a little bit to the CIP, but it's about a $500,000 city match. Is that in the budget currently, or is that funds that are going to have to be
So,
allocated?
went before council, because I had to sign the agreement before, and we already have, because we were under budget on the southeast. So I have, I believe it's right around 240.
Okay.
And then, so council approved that we can go through, and we're gonna fund it either through CPD money, or if we have to, we can go to reserves.
Okay.
But we'll make this project happen. And also parking is kicking in for the paving and the
Oh, nice.
striping.
Okay.
So they have money in their, fund for that.
Perfect. That'll save them a lot of
It'll
effort
save
in
a
the
lot of work all
summertime.
summer from striping.
Absolutely.
So we still have one more summer we have to live with, these the way they are.
Yes, ma'am.
I have to go
One
home and
more.
tell them that.
Okay. Any closing comments from P&D?
Just please encourage the public to provide comments if they have them, and we look forward to any comments we receive.
All right. Thank you so much for being here.
All right.
Really appreciate it. And thanks for these large copies. That was very helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Paul, we're gonna let you go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
I'm so excited.
I know. It's very exciting. As a frequent user of that launch ramp, I can tell you that I'm just tickled.
Me too.
Okay. All right, so I can see that our fire chief is here and ready to go, because we are on to new business, item 3, which is to discuss the Seward Marine Industrial Center development plan with the fire department. And I know he came prepared, so I'd like to actually, I need to ask the clerk a question. He's with administration. Do I need to suspend the rules at all to discuss it with him, or because it's a discussion item already, is this allowed?
No, you're fine.
We're fine?
Yep.
Okay, so we can have a back and forth with board members asking questions and that's okay?
Right.
Okay.
And one note, actually, Madam Chair, if, before the end of the meeting, if the clerk can just read the consent items into the agenda.
Would you
To
like
get
to
it
do
on
that
the
now?
record.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, I missed that step. So the items that were approved on the consent agenda was approved the November 4th, 2020 regular business meetings. Confirm the December 16th, 2020 work session topic as set PACAB priorities for 2021.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate you involving the fire department in the plan. I think it's pretty important. So what I did, I don't know if you have anything to start off with. The clerk's office sent me a list from PACAB of some questions or some topics, and so I can just kind of run through those and then see if you have any questions. How about that?
So just so I can prime the board, starting on page 19, the fourth item from the bottom is the first one that involves the fire department. And so all of the items that say schedule a meeting in 2021 with fire department to discuss, those are the items that he was sent, and so that's what we'll be discussing. So starting
And I'll read the topic first
Perfect.
before
All right,
so you'll
thank
know
you.
where I'm at. Yep. So the first one was evaluate each new development as the impact on fire and police services. Can't really speak for the police services, but they're pretty much in the same boat as us. Obviously, any increase in development anywhere is more burden and more responses and more responsibilities, more inspections. So it's definitely a concern. Probably the biggest concern is both the fire and EMS both are fully volunteer, with just the chief and deputy chief as paid. So you're totally dependent on volunteer to staff those, and that's kind of the scary part. Nobody lives at SMIC, right? So there's no volunteers readily available there 24/7. The other issue is most of our responses come from sewer, the city itself. We do have a few responders on Nash Road, but generally it's 15 minutes minimum to get out there, as you all know, 20 in the winter. And whether it's a heart attack or a fire, both are going to go downhill quickly. So it's pretty scary to think of people, especially talking about possibly housing man camps, and that's pretty scary to think that someone could have a heart attack or have a fire and you don't know when they're going to get there. So also, when we send their apparatus over there, that's taken away now for this side of the city, right? So the 2,800 residents on this side are now without that ambulance or that engine or those volunteers. So that's pretty scary. We have been in, this may be a little off topic, but with all these Navy and Coast Guard coming in, we've been contacted at least 3 times, I was thinking a 4th, by different Navy and actually the National Guard did the interview for the Coast Guard, but ask about our capabilities, specifically at SMIC. So I know it's on their radar as what can you and can't you do. The next one, it says a complete water system to loop all lines or upsize all cross feeder lines and provide additional fire hydrants as needed. So yes, this is a big one on our list. Per our fire code, the hydrants should be spaced about 500 feet apart. A little less if it's a higher fuel load, which don't really see that need over there. That would be more for bulk flammable storage and so forth. But really you want about 500 feet. And they should provide about 1,500 gallons per minute of water. And again, that may be more if a higher fuel load. The JAG yard itself is very well covered. They've got more than adequate hydrants. However, if they do expand, whether it's east or south, then they'll have no hydrants in that area if they expand.
Do they have their own response teams?
They do not.
They don't, okay.
They do have to provide water, so like when the Navy ship comes in, they do have to provide them fire suppression water. So they'll hook into the hydrant, and they hook into the Navy's fire suppression system.
Okay.
And also the sawmill, the old sawmill area is got crazy amount of hydrants. I was very surprised. They're very well covered. But the rest of SMIC is It's pretty sparse. The last boat fire we had to lay 900 feet. That's 900 feet of 5-inch supply line. Each section of hose is 110 pounds. When you have limited resources and limited firefighters, it gets pretty hard to do stuff like that, especially when it's cleanup time and you're tired and you're ready to go home and you got to roll that up. So less having to lay out hose, the closer the hydrants are, it's a lot easier. And it's also a time factor. The longer it takes for us to lay out hose, that fire's growing exponentially. You know, it's just it's getting bigger and bigger. A large portion of that main shipyard has just 0 hydrants. So it would be highly wise to extend those in somehow to get us a little closer. And talking about looping it, obviously a loop system is more efficient and you get better flows with a loop system than dead ends. The ISO, the Insurance Services Organization rating for Seward itself is a 3 and for SMIC is a 3Y, meaning it's a 3Y because it receives resources from Seward, but the Y designation is saying, but it doesn't have staff, it doesn't have volunteers. It's kind of like, yeah, you're covered, but just kind of like, yeah. So the reason I bring ISO up is, so they're going to rate on what's there, and then they're going to come back in 5 years, and if we've got a huge new building, or we've got an apartment building, or whatever, we start building over there, they're going to look at that and say, well, you need more resources. What you have now is not enough. So just want to keep that in mind, that and then let me back up, I should have said, so the ISO is who sets your insurance rates for commercial properties. So the better your insurance rating, a 1 being the best, and 10 being no coverage, then the better your number, the better your insurance rates. So JAG or whoever is going to benefit from having that 3Y as opposed to a 4, 5, 6. So we want to keep them at a 3. All right, so the next one is identify and reserve a site for a fire station to serve the 4th of July Valley area. Include a separate fire station in the capital project plan to accommodate more and larger equipment and supplies to support increased industrial development, possibly a joint small office for Seward Police. So right now we are actually in the process of working with the harbor master and community development. They've got a surveyor coming for the Coast Guard property already, so we're going to ask that surveyor to help us designate a site for a fire station. At least get a site picked out and plotted and said, okay, this is the fire station's property. Right now our fire trainer, the building over there is just on regular leased property, so we don't have anything in our name. So that's pretty important to get that done. The only caveat to that is where it's currently located. If you look at the Seward tsunami zone map, it is within that inundation zone. Unless we go over kind of up around the prison, which is very undeveloped and a lot more costly, that's the only way we're going to get out of that 50-foot inundation zone. So I think we're kind of, unfortunately, I think we're kind of stuck with that. Currently at SMIC, we house the 75-foot Quint, which is a ladder truck and pumper. It gets credit for both when used correctly, but the city of Seward got points deducted because we don't have a ladder truck in Seward. The ladder truck is staged out there because there's not a building over here that it can fit in. It has to go in the harbor master's shop. So it only got credit as an engine out there, not as a dual ladder engine. So we need to get that ladder truck over here and take an engine over there. But I know the harbor master is going to want his shop space at some point. So it would be nice to put in the capital project plan to have some type of fire station, if you want to call it a station, something to house an engine, heated. It doesn't have to be fancy. I did have a couple ideas as far as at least 2 bays. That way maybe they could store an ambulance over there if they wanted to. They're a separate entity than us, so I can't speak for them. An office for the police, to have a little precinct over there would be an excellent idea. And the other option I thought of was potentially making 1 or 2 apartments connected to it and do some type of live-in for one of these JAG workers or Coast Guard, or that way they can, if they'll dedicate, yep, I'll take the truck, at least get the truck rolling. I'll take the truck if we got a call, and I get free housing or reduced housing or, so that's definitely a plan to look at. Couple other considerations, you'll like this, maintenance on the John Foster. I know she just loves to do this, but it's really been laxing in the last few years, and it's finally caught up to us, and we need a lot. I would say probably close to $25,000 a year for about 4 years to really get it back repainted, the engine, the pumps, all that gone through. It's really in need of some love and care. And on that topic, it's hard to say because, of course, owning a boat as well, and you work on boats, you know, it's a money pit, but there may be at some point we need a second boat, one just for SMIC. You know, if we're having all this traffic over there, whether it's, I mean, there's no way we're going to get from here to there in a timely fashion. So that's something to potentially look at. But you're talking about a $300,000 boat. So, and then you got to have people run it. So, just something to keep in mind that we need to maintain and keep up that John Foster, and we need to consider another fire vessel. I spoke a little bit with you the other day, actually. So the impact fee thing.
Yeah.
So I can't speak on the administration's behalf, or you know, I have personal feelings, but I'm not trying to say double dip, because we charge way too much, in my opinion, to hook up water and sewer and electricity, and a lot of that should be on this. I feel should be on the city, but if there was a way to develop some type of impact fee, not double dipping and saying, well, we're going to charge you $200,000 for sewer and water, and then there's this impact fee as well. But there seems like there should be some way that we can help offset the cost of our citizens over here paying for infrastructure or a fire station or a police station or whatever over there when they're making bukus of money. There's just, I don't know if that's something that you can maybe talk about in the future of how is there a way that they can offset cost and help fund that, because I know we don't have the money for all this stuff I'm talking about. We don't have the money here in the general fund to do that. And anyway, I would just encourage this board to look at alternative ways to fund those things. The last question you had was explore possible cooperative agreements with Spring Creek Correctional Facility staff to provide initial fire or other public safety needs. I have not spoken to the new warden about this yet, and I'm kind of going on history. We have a lot of Spring Creek correctional officers interested in volunteering, and they come for 2 nights, and then the overtime starts, and then they're done. They can't ever commit anything, and it's no fault of their own. They would love to do it, and I've got quite a few people over there that are interested, but they're so short-staffed that I just don't think that we would be able to have a dedication enough to train them to do that. I would love that, and that'd be a great idea, and I will reach out to the warden and see if there's anything like that we could do. But it would be nice for all these boards and commissions and councils to really encourage JAG and the Coast Guard, Harbor Master's Office, anybody who's working over there. Hey, consider volunteering. You know, you could help, and we could always use help. And we don't have to always have a 20-year-old fit, you know, whatever your image of this firefighter is. There's other jobs. There's driving the engine and pumping it and the boat. You know, people are good at boats. We need people to run the John Foster, and you know, there's other positions. So if you're interested in volunteering, we can always use volunteers. Step up and help out. So, what questions do you have?
I will turn it over to the board to ask any questions that you have. First, thank you for the very detailed responses. This is exactly what we needed. This is really, really good. Do I have any specific questions?
Hey, Chairperson, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I gotta get off the phone call.
Okay, all right, thank you, Aaron. So Lemus left the meeting at 1:04, and we still have a quorum. Carl, you're still there, correct?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, And can you stick with us up until the end, or do you have any time constraints?
I missed part of that. What is the request for time constraints over?
I
If you don't mind repeating.
I don't think it's going to go past 2, but can you stay with us until 2?
Yes, I can.
Okay. All right. Just wanted to make sure so that we can, because we are down to 4 people now. Okay. I wrote down a few questions for you here. You answered this question a little bit later on, but basically you said that right now we're not set up well for growth. But what are our options? What do you see? And you mentioned the apartments, which I think was such a great idea. What other things do you see, like moving forward? Development is, it's going to happen, right? It's inevitable. We're going to have more things. But as we're thinking ahead, what do you see as what's the solution to better response times, to better coverage out there so that we make sure we're maintaining that level of public safety?
Aside from the city actually hiring a few paid firefighters and EMTs, aside from that, it would be a strong encouragement to the Coast Guard and JAG itself that you're basically it over there, right? You're the big dogs, you're the big players, you've got the manpower. We need you to help cover yourselves, and we need you to help, and whether that's JAG sending their guys to a marine or industrial firefighting school on their own, or joining with us, and I just think it's leaning on those resources that are out there, and just trying to encourage them to volunteer. I don't know that there's any other way that we can accomplish staffing. It would be very difficult for the city to pay for, even one firefighter to stay out there right now.
Right.
I would love it, sure, love it. At least get an initial response. You get the engine at least started and laying hose, and but yeah, that would be a tough sell.
What about the volunteer in lieu of housing arrangement you were talking about? Like there's an apartment and a volunteer is able to stay there in exchange for their response. Is that a model that you've seen in other places?
Yeah, and I've seen that work in many places, and there's actually a few places here in Alaska that actually do that. In lieu of housing or reduced housing, they can stay there, and they have to give so many hours a week. And that works great when they're there, but then, what happens when they have to work, they work at Subway or Safeway, and they're on this side, right? So having the people who are already over there, I think is the key. I think that's really the only way it's going to work.
Okay.
But having someone over there, especially if you start talking about man camps and overnight, then that's when I would really push more towards having a volunteer, live in the station.
Okay. So that kind of leads me into my next question. From a community development aspect, let's say that someone, the zoning is all set and someone comes with a proposal to put a 40-person housing unit out there. Let's say that you determine as the fire department that the capacity isn't there for fire response, or that there's not a hydrant within the correct distance. Is that on the developer or is that on the city? Like, is that a reason for community development to say, nope, you can't do that, we are not ready for you yet? Or if everything else is in place, is it then incumbent upon the city to make the public safety measures happen?
Right now it's on the developer, and the developer would have to put a CUP in for that to community development, and then when they send it out to all the departments, then the building and fire department are going to review it, and they're going to say, well, you got to have a hydrant, you have to this, and so code is helps us with part of that. So the bigger or the more life safety hazard, or as it grows, then just sprinklers are required, fire alarms are required. So things are there to help. Mm-hmm. You have a bunch of little things, and you say I put a bunch of little single wide trailers. Well, those don't have to be sprinkled or anything, and then the next thing I know, I got 20 of those, and they're all a risk, and I have no codes to help their safety. But it's actually easier, and I would like to see better, more. Hey, 3-story, 40-room, like you were talking about. That's better for me because the code is going to keep them safe. Mm-hmm. And yeah, right now it's on the developer to bring in the water. The hydrants have to be within so many feet of a building if it's sprinklered. So yeah, code's going to answer all that for you.
Okay. But that would be, the cost is on the developer for all of that.
As of right now,
Okay.
yes. Now, and Norm maybe can speak a little bit better. I don't know if they can do an assessment district type thing like they did with Gateway over there. If someone asked, is that a possibility?
I know that they were working on it. It's on their list at P&Z to be working on the zoning for SMIC. I'm not sure where they're at, but that was one of the questions that brought up.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my question too, assessment district or some other way to help fund it.
Right. Yeah, and so the fire chief brought up impact fees, which is a way that other communities deal with. I'll use the electric department as an example because Corey's not here, so I'm going to pick on him. If you have 10 people living on a street and the first 9 people hook up power to one transformer, and then that 10th person wants to hook up their service and it puts it over the transformer's limit, that 10th person pays for the new transformer in its entirety, which is a really big burden on certain people.
I've had to do it.
I've had to do it.
Myself as well.
Yep. So it's impact fees is a way of spreading that out over time. So rather than it coming down to that last person, it makes everyone else's bill a little higher in anticipation of that equipment renewal at some point. At some point, transformers have to be replaced anyway. So I feel like that's a better system. However, we have a small electric department, and that's a lot more management. So I recognize that, and I don't know what that would look like, and it would be a really big change to how we assess fees as a city. I do think as an end user and as a business owner, that's a much more desirable outcome. It's a much more equitable outcome, but it's a big change to how we do things. So it's not something that's going to change overnight. But I appreciate you bringing that to our attention and bringing that up, because especially as we develop areas like SMIC where there's a lot of undeveloped land, the cost burden on developers is much higher, which is why we went through the assessment district discussions last year. And I feel like there's good solutions there. And we as a board have it on our agenda to, not officially on the agenda, we don't have a date yet, but we are supposed to be meeting with P&Z again about that overlay district for SMIC. And I think that the assessment district questions, we can work that into that work session. I think we need to have more discussions about that. I had a question about, you mentioned the property where the trainer currently is. Would that be your preferred location of a new facility?
I don't know that that would be my preferred. I think it's there. It's somewhat graded. I just think for cost and time wise, that would be fine. No matter anywhere on that little SMIC, we're talking about SMIC, I'm more of the boatyard area, is really in the inundation zone. You're really going to have to go as you start climbing that hill a little bit. And some of that state land, there is a city parcel right there. That would be, I guess, if I had to say an ideal world, a picture perfect, a better place for it, just for safety wise. But they're even saying now that it could potentially go up to 100 feet, our new zone. So, I don't know that there's going to be anywhere that it's going to be a safe spot. It's the same thing here in Seward. I mean, where would I put a new fire station over here? Well, pretty much if you go 100 feet, it'd have to be in Laurel Canyon.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I want to say I don't want to turn down a property. Is it ideal? It's not ideal. There's no utilities on it. There's no hydrant, no water, no sewer, no electricity. So there's a lot of infrastructure that would have to be done to that property before a building was built.
So here's a question, Norm. Where the harbor building currently is, what about rebuilding a structure, like a 2-story structure that could have apartments there? Maybe widening it so there's an extra bay, but using that current footprint and rebuilding that building 2 stories high and using the existing utilities there.
I'd love for the harbor master to build me a fire station.
So, I mean, that's possible, but so that location where he's talking about, the one thing, he just said there's no utilities, but the water runs right by it, the sewer runs right by it, the electricity runs right by it, it's right there. So it's just like most of those places over there. There's electricity, that one section that you had, you're not too far from sewer, and I think we talked about that. And, you know, water, we're trying to bring water up as we can, and electricity. They have the loop now, which is nice, so they just gotta hook in, there's a loop going around the whole Smick yard, which it helps everybody, so.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess I put you guys on the spot. I don't know how nicely you play together in the same building.
And that's not a bad idea. It's not. That's a great location. It's, you know, it's I say great location as far as, you know, you have access to everything.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad idea. I don't know how the life cycle of those metal buildings is usually 25 to 30 years. I'm sure that building's older than that, but so it would probably be in the harbor in our interest to work together and do kind of more of a block, or, you know,
It just
better
seems
structure.
like economies of scale, and with there's not full-time use by any entity out there currently, so it might be a good way to pool resources, have bathroom facilities, you know, it just, I don't know, I think it's just something to consider.
And so regardless of the station, we're still replotting this plot for the fire trainer anyway, because we still, the volunteers, so this trainer actually, we quote unquote own it, but it was a grant for the whole eastern side, Moose Pass, Lowell Point, Bear Creek, Seward. We all can and do use it. And some of the volunteers want to do things like put up a fence, so we've had some vandalism and stuff, but it's kind of like, well, we don't want to pay for something if it's not our property. Also, ISO that I mentioned earlier, for us to get credit as a training facility, is supposed to be on a 3-acre minimum plot. So we're just trying to get that at least, and so I was going to try to get 3 or 4 acres allocated. If we can use it for a station, fine. If we want to do something later, that's great. If not, we can clear land out, have more room to turn our apparatus, and we can do other trainings with it. So.
Okay. Board Member Paquette?
How do we get to a point where we have a shovel-ready project? Like, what are the steps? Because I feel like in the next year or two, there's a good chance that some kind of money is going to come free. And if we're ready, we could move on it. And I really think that it's critical that we get some kind of fire suppression station available over there. And I think doing a combined harbor master 2-story with some residents, I think we've got to realize that the only way to staff it is to pay somebody to live there. But I think we've got to do it, because when we come out of this, I'm calling it a 5-year impact, but when we come out of that, things are going to take off so fast, and we need to be ready by then. I mean, because I've suffered a fire, I really, I'm adamant about this. I know what it's like, and it's the one thing, you know, that it's the one thing, it's the one service that the city can provide people that is just so critical. That and ambulance, and I know they're a separate entity, but I'm sure if there was a space that the ambulance department would figure out a way to come up with a machine and have an ambulance available, and there would be somebody that would volunteer. I'm sure of it.
So you bring up a great point too, that we can have all of these discussions and we can have it in the plan, but if we don't actually have something actionable when the opportunity comes, we'll be caught a little bit flat-footed sometimes. You had mentioned grant funding for the trainer, and I was wondering, are there rural fire department grants that could help to pay for a building that we can look into?
Not, no, there are loans.
Okay.
They're for rural departments, low interest loans. There's nothing right now. There have been in the past. There absolutely has been. That's been several years since those have been out.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't think of anything that would help pay for a facility. You talk about shovel ready, and I agree. I think just like the animal shelter, it's shovel ready, right? There's plans. It's just got to be funded. To get to that point, though, in a building like you're talking, just for a fire station remodel, it was a large remodel, but it's close to $150,000 to get a shovel-ready plans done. So I think that right there is, he may have it. I certainly don't have $150,000 to throw at some plans, but I agree, that would be nice to have something ready where, like you said, when funds come, oh, where are we gonna put this money? Well, you already got this done, go with that.
Yeah.
If you already got it done, it's a lot easier to sell it than start from scratch, so.
So identifying that money and getting that going is the
Right.
next step.
No.
So one thing we are working on identifying the piece of land right now. If
Yeah.
instead of the harbor, instead of that harbor building there, we designate that spot, and I think we already got it, so it's the acreage that he needs. We're over there, we get that platted and ready to go, and then maybe he can buy fencing one year, or some grant money for fencing, get that done, and maybe there's something else later. At least we have something there we can go build off of.
Right. What about your CIP list? Is any of this stuff for SMIC on the current fire department capital improvement project list?
I had put maintenance, I don't know if it's on the newest, but I put maintenance for the John Foster for sure on there. The new fire facility over here was on there, and I did not have, I don't think it was on the CIP, but I had mentioned in my report, in that report to the city manager, I had put that we needed the land allocated to us. So that's step one, right? So I had not put that on, but I certainly should and will on the next one.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I know that you have so many other irons in the fire, and you've got so many projects that you have that you need done, and I'm just wondering if you did have some of those things on your list, and the harbor comes into more money for more SMIC development, or their money comes available for some sort of economic development project out at SMIC, and we say, hey, in order to do this, we have to, it requires a fire station.
And that's
Just
kind of
depending
where
on the
I was,
funding source, we can
and that's
maybe
kind of
lump
what
it
I
all
was
together.
thinking was steering this, was having the Navy's. I mean, they don't just call; they come and sit down and want to talk to you about what you can and can't do. Of course, after that San Diego ship fire last summer, they were very nervous, and so I trying to be as honest as I can, but I also was like, oh, we do pretty good, but I certainly don't want JAG or anybody to lose contracts and lose monies because we're not able to provide what they need. But in hindsight, or in lieu, also, the Navy did assure us, no. What we're going to do is, if we see holes or areas, we supplement that. And so that was kind of made me feel better. So they've called us for each ship to come and tour and see their fire capabilities, and the Coast Guard usually does that as well. We've had one Coast Guard dryer fire at JAG, and so that they were very, I mean, they had all their gear on and hoses. They were very very ready. So I think right now they're able to do their own. But when you have another ship like the Marine Ferry or any of those other ones, they obviously don't have their own firefighting crews. So.
Right. Well, are there any other, oh yeah, Mr. Smith.
So there's obviously a lot of discussion points here. The one thing that does stand out is the response time. That you're saying 15 to 20 minutes just to arrive on site, and that clearly needs work. I guess shipyards aren't like aren't like a residential area or a commercial area, so there's special training and special equipment and extrication techniques required. Are you planning on any extra training or any extra equipment to support expansion in JAG?
So as far as equipment, we are actually pretty good right now. So for instance, if a station magically appears over here, I'm going to bring the ladder truck over here, and I have a spare engine to take over there. I believe right now one engine over there is sufficient, because we're going to bring in addition, at least us, an additional engine, and then we have an automatic aid with Bear Creek and Lowell Point. They're going to bring engines as well. There's not really that much more specialized equipment as far as like foams and like you would use foam at an airport, or the shipyard itself is, there's a lot of non-combustibles in shipyards. There's not many, like magnesiums is a special metal that, special classification, but I think equipment-wise, we're decent. Training, I lost Dale Butts. He was the Marine instructor, right? So I've actually got it on my to-do list is to try to get with ABTEC and see what we can do about having one of their instructors helping train us with the Marine side. I definitely am very new to the Marine firefighting. It's a very specialized and unique thing. Being that we've had 5 vessel fires since I've been here in 2 years, and 0 house fires, knock on wood. So for the city, kind of proud of that a little bit, but the vessel fires is definitely unique, and we did have a fatality in one, and so yeah, it's its own thing.
It is, for sure. Alderman Paquette?
I'm just curious, maybe you have them already, but are there like those pumps that you put in the ocean that can just pump seawater back out? So if you don't have a pumper trunk there yet, there could be that equipment available to JAG staff or to Navy staff to use?
The one we do have some. The ones we have are so low GPM. They would not provide that kind of water.
I'm just thinking if there's a smaller expense that we could spend to be a little more prepared right now than we are without the people in the truck and all that.
I really don't think to make a dent, to really make a difference. They have, say JAG, they have fire extinguishers everywhere. They are a very safe company. I've toured with them. One building is sprinklered, that back eastern one. Like I said, they have a lot of fire hydrants inside. They've always got hoses hooked up to them. But I don't, without specialized training and bunker gear, and I really would shy away from them doing too much.
Okay.
Kind of one of those. I know just enough to get hurt, right? I know just enough to cross that line. So I think where we're at right now is if you're not trained, and now if JAG steps up and says, you know what, nope, we're going to send 20 of our guys and train them, then yeah, I would love to see some grant money help fund them some PPE and air packs and something like that, for sure.
Awesome. Well, Chief Kreitz, thank you so much for your time and for your thoughtful responses to our questions. And just moving forward, again, next year is when we are actually revising the SMIC development plan. And so next fall, I would love to invite you back to be a part of those discussions as we actually revise the plan and bring that before council for approval. So as you're thinking about things through the year and as things are developing, we might have more to add to those discussions next time around.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Really appreciate it. Thank you for sticking around. You guys, safe travels.
Okay. There's one of those sets for. Okay.
Okay, so we have 3 items left on our under new business. So we're gonna move on to page 22, which is we're looking at the capital improvement plan for both SMIC and the harbor. We've got SMIC on page 22 and the harbor on page 23. Norm, would you like to kick off this discussion?
Sure. So for SMIC, of course, we've done a lot of discussions on there. We were going to put in additional water services in this year, but Mr. COVID showed up and things didn't happen like we wanted. So that probably will, it's still on there. The drainage areas, we're always constantly working on the drainage. I know it needs a whole lot more work and a whole lot more material to make it work properly. And for fencing it, it's just, fencing's quite expensive. Just that North Dock area was almost $100,000. So there's just funding for that one. And talking with Corey about some additional power stalls that can be done. Once again, it's just funding. And we're not sure. I'm pretty sure this mix is going to be in the black this year, but which is really nice. But I don't know if it's enough to put in additional power, a lot of more stalls. But with them routing that extra power around, it's nice. The restroom one is another thing that needs to be done over there. Currently, we just threw in some more porta potties to cover that. You know, there's a lot of people over there. So we threw in some additional restrooms, and we actually put some at the north, at the Fisherman's Float now, because we'd have no restrooms at that location. And then finish paving the roads, you know, the boatyard roads. It's just, you know, that it can be done. It's just money, once again, money, and the paving is expensive. That what we did, just what we did over there with the rest of that grant funding we had was $800,000. So, and it's really not a lot.
Former Paquette.
I'm just curious, how does that relate to this project? The paving, because isn't this partially gonna do paving?
We're at SMIC right now.
Oh,
That's the
Yeah,
north launch
yeah,
ramp.
yeah, yeah,
This is
yeah,
the
yeah,
north dock
yeah,
on the other side.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Never mind.
Okay,
Brain fart.
okay.
The north dock paving, is that the laydown area?
That's right, yeah.
Is,
So when
have
we
you had
did this,
requests for that, or?
I'm sorry,
Have you had requests for that, or what would be the purpose of paving that area?
be for a laydown area where we're, because we were talks with several barge companies for coming over, but it hasn't gone anywhere. But I mean, they can lay down. Now we have actually had a barge come in to lay down some equipment, and there it doesn't really need to be paved, but you know, it could still stay on there. Might be just a little bit further down the line if somebody ever puts a batch plant in there. That's when it'd be time to do it down
Yeah.
here in Seward, which could happen in the next few years
Yeah,
with all the road work they're going to have on the Seward Highway.
okay. All right, that makes sense. I noticed that a lot of these items on here are out far in the future. There's nothing on here for 2021, although those water services may get pushed back. I know that this fencing, it has always been on the legislative priorities, looking to get some money for maybe security grants for that. But I'm just wondering, additional power stalls 2023, do you really foresee it being that far in the future before that becomes feasible?
Well, if we have, say, I don't know, if we're over budget enough, we could take some of those funds and then maybe just put the lines in the dirt, or maybe put the post up where we're gonna go, and so we can kind of designate where we're going. We can do little things like that, just as we can,
Right.
and then,
Do you have, related to this, do you have any tariff updates that you're going to be bringing forward this year?
tariff updates.
I know that there's been rumblings about storage fees.
Well, that was one of the
increase.
discussions we're supposed to be having here sometime this winter, but I don't know when you guys wanted to discuss it.
So you would foresee that being not in, because you bring the tariff, the tariff gets approved yearly, correct?
Every 2 years.
Oh, it's only a budget cycle?
Correct.
Okay, I thought that there was a yearly update to it. Okay, so
So-
you would be looking to make some updates next time around, so we would
Correct.
be doing this next fall, okay.
But we need to discuss it before, so we can bring it before council to get approved, so I know we
course.
don't have to wait till budget season when everybody's busy
Yeah.
with budget. I agree those rates over there are too low. Some people are gonna disagree with me because they like the low rates, but kinda like what happened with the camping fees, same thing. You know, they were too low. And
Right.
they brought them up to where it needs to be, or close to where it needs to be, and I think we could do the same thing with the SMIC storage. I think the power should stay the same, but I think the storage needs to get increased. And with an additional item on there saying that after 1 year it doubles, after the next year it doubles again. It might keep people putting their boats in and out of the water, but the only thing that might happen is we might get derelicts. But that is, you know, we need to do something there, because people are laying there. This one guy, I've been to harbor now for 26 years, that one boat's been there for 25 years, so.
I guess, you know, as a boatyard owner, I run into this as well. And I know you want turnover and you want new people, but since the harbor's not doing any work on vessels, what is the difference to you between having someone, it's actually economically better to have someone paying double the rate than to have a new user, correct?
Correct, but what if that guy that's double the rate just sitting there and he's taking up a power stall?
Yeah,
We
true.
moved some boats away from power stalls because we knew we were gonna run out of power this winter. So we moved some boats on our own. We got permission from the boat owner, moved away from the power stalls, so we opened some up. That's the problem.
Right.
If he's sitting there for 5 years and then, there's a power stall there, but you can't run cords across the yard.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm thinking, so.
Yeah.
I mean, we can have a designated spot for long-term vessels, but,
No, it's frustrating because your chances of it becoming a derelict increase over time as well.
Correct.
And I understand that aspect of it as
I
well.
mean, even
It's
if we
just-
double it twice and stop there, I
Yeah.
mean, that's something that we can bring before PACAB and let work on it, and then we can take it before council, and see what council thinks.
I just think that with SMIC being an enterprise fund, it needs to be bring in enough to do some of these needed improvements. These are not, I know that the rating on here is N, it's new, but as it grows, these new things are critical. I really do feel that the users are going to benefit from them, and it's only going to get better. And I think that it's going to be some pain initially, but I'm on board with looking at some options for that increase. I'd like to do that earlier in the year as possible, because as you said, we're going to take the hiatus. We're going to be in budget season when we come back. So I think that this spring would be the right time to put together a resolution to council saying, as you go into budget season, this is what we recommend. Yeah. Okay. That's SMIC. We have the harbor on page 23.
Yeah. So,
And-
I'm
No,
sorry.
it's exciting because some of these things are already getting,
Right,
they're
so-
really in motion.
So technically, we have to leave them on until they finish, so,
Yep.
I know I had 2021, that's what we were hoping for, but because of the time constraints, we could not, it would be too much, but they're actually gonna start it, hopefully, next year, so it technically is 2021 with the starting, but, so that's gonna happen, and then K&L float and G float, so, like I said, we were the top tier 2 recipient. It's all about the government funding, and I actually was on the phone with our lobbyist last week and explained to him our situation. They've only been giving out $5 million, which last year they didn't give out anything, but they give out $5 million, and I told our lobbyist, well, if they're not interested in $5 million, if they give out 2.5, we qualify that tier 1 won't get nothing.
Oh, okay.
Tier 1's gonna get whatever's for there. They want $5 million, so, but if they drop down 2.5, we'll get what we need for our project. But it's all about the funding from the state. We have ours. I said I was going to use it from the reserves. We have the money in the reserves to do it. This project needs to be done. It's just going to get more and more expensive.
Yeah.
So if we can get her done now. So hopefully that we'll know more when they decide on the budget.
So right now you have the 3.5 totally in the city portion, but you're expecting that other sources, I won't hold you to this, of course, but what do you anticipate the city portion being? 1 million?
For the city,
Yeah.
I believe it was, what did I say, 1.7? 1.7, because, yeah.
1.7 is the match on that?
yeah.
Okay.
And
The concrete anodes.
so, I put that on there because Carrie Anderson was the harbor master way back when, and she told me in 2020 to start looking at this. So we actually had a bunch of water line breaks for some reason this summer on one float. Don't know what happened, but they were just in line. So when the diver came the second time, I had him check the anodes along the piling while he was down. And there's only a quarter of them gone. And these things are this big. So we're doing good. So that we can almost push that.
Okay.
To another year or to a couple more years, but it could be on to get that done. But it was really nice that it was a perfect time to just ask him to, of course he charged me for it, but he was nice, he went right down the line and yeah, he said there's still a lot there.
Okay. But it just needs to stay there as a placeholder for when the time does come to
Correct.
replace them.
Correct.
And I know, so for boats, when we're talking about smaller anodes, we go at 50% or less as replacement. Is that the same on these larger anodes?
You know, I have to ask an engineer, I don't know the answer.
Okay.
And so then the 50 gallon washdown pad, you know, I applied for that it was a grant, they're supposed to be coming out this month with something, if they're gonna decide to go out and allow these type of grants. So we'll see where EVOS is with that, and we can just reapply if it comes back out. But
What was the city match in your application for that?
for that, there is no match, there's
Oh, there's
100%,
nothing.
100%. They paid 100% for the one at SMIC.
Okay,
So the only thing we added at SMIC was the tubing so we can heat the pad, which this time we'll try to put it in there so it's there. And actually, we can remove the dumpsters.
okay, I wasn't sure if those were another set of dumpsters.
No, so it came up that Parks and Rec was ordering dumpsters, so that's when I jumped on it to do a city project. We actually saved quite a bit of money by combining Parks and Rec in the city, in the harbor. So, our 20-yard dumpsters are out there. We're welding up 2. The APTEC welding class is welding up all Parks and Rec's dumpsters. So, and then they have to paint them. But it's nice that they're using it as a class for the welders. It's really nice.
Perfect, that's great. Synergy, we call that. All right, and I know this 5-ton crane, this has been a hot button issue for a long time. What are your thoughts on this?
So, have it out 2024. So, I believe next year after, we have one of our bonds maturing. So there'll be some funding, but I was going to put that funding towards the anodes first. But that kind of extra funding could go towards a 5-ton crane. We don't need a big crane. We have a big crane across, but we have a small crane on this side. 5 ton is more than what people would want. So that's where I'm looking there.
I would like to see this higher on the list. Maybe with a sooner completion date. I say this because we have 3 projects where we have funding that's basically been identified. The dumpsters are already done. I'd at least like to see that say 2023. This item has gotten knocked down to the bottom a lot, and I know that's because the 10-ton crane is across the bay. However, with a lot more traffic on that north dock, it has been difficult at times to use that crane. And especially for small users, I do think it's still important that we keep this up there.
We could definitely move it up.
Okay. That's not to say, I mean, there's so many irons in the fire right now, and you've done such an amazing job getting funding. I just think that it would be good to push ourselves a little bit harder on that one, and to maybe even look for the money to do whatever engineering it takes for the location.
So one thing nice is we already have the engineering.
Oh, nice.
We have the for 5-ton, 10-ton on by the travel pit or on the I-dock.
Okay.
So we keep it small on the I-dock. We don't have to re-support and drive all new pilings on the I-dock. We keep it at 5-ton. We have the design. I have everything in my office already, which was passed out a long time ago to other PACAB and council and stuff that I can't. Oh, it was Moffett and Nickel, I believe, that did that. So, anyways, yeah. So we have the engineering. Excuse me. Actually, it was R&M that did it. We already identified the electrical source. So yeah, it's close. We just could get the money for the crane.
Okay. And I do understand that new has to come after things that need maintenance. So I just would like to encourage that if we get to the point where you have that money available and those anodes are not in need of replacement, and we can push that down, that we go ahead and we move the crane up on the list.
Move it above anodes? Or
again, that's kind of I feel like it's tricky because, again, a maintenance item is more critical than a new infrastructure item. Just if it comes to that time and you have a diver go down and you still, if you can, you're going to have some data now, right? You know where the anodes are now. You can know where they're at in a year and the year after that. And if we get some data over time, we'll have a better picture of where that funding, what year we need that funding in. And if we make sure that we can do that, I'd like to just, rather than prematurely replace those, I'd like to put that money towards the crane.
Okay.
Any anyone have anything to add there? Carl, did you have any questions or additions to the capital improvement plan?
No, I've reviewed this many times, and I think we're it's complete the way it needs to be, so I have no additions.
I have one addition.
Oh, yeah.
I would really like to put our harbor master building on there.
Okay.
It's been talked about, that thing's from 1967, 68. So,
Would it read relocate?
it would relocate probably to the harbor uplands.
Right, I love that idea.
And I don't know what it costs. I could throw,
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think it's a great idea, and I'm really excited. We have so much to do this next year, but I'm really excited about looking at that harbor plan again in this upcoming year, because I feel like that gives us an opportunity to talk about things like the crane and a new harbor building, and kind of what the vision is of the harbor going forward, and what the, what our wildest dreams are for what it can be. And so I'm really excited about that process, but I think that would make an excellent addition to this list.
So shouldn't,
Madam Chair?
Board Member Hughes.
Yeah, I actually support that idea of adding the harbor master building to it. I'd also make a recommendation that we did, since it's such an old building, I'd like to see it tore down, and maybe just the park-like aspect of where the flagpole, the picnic benches, and the flower pots, just be extended to where the harbor master building now exists. Just add it to what already is there. Just people seem to like it a lot.
Yeah, I think that's a great contribution to, I think that should definitely be part of the discussion that we have if we're talking about future planning, not only where the new building's gonna go, but what the disposition of that land currently would be. I know there's a lack of office space for charter businesses, and so they might be clamoring for that, or the city may even have another use for it.
we still need to keep the restrooms there.
You need to keep the restrooms there,
We
okay.
need, nothing else, build new restrooms.
Yeah.
More showers, better, we just redid the facility there not too long ago. It's really nice now. It's just, could be larger.
Right. Excellent. Board Member Paquette.
yeah, well, that was my question, is shouldn't it read relocate harbor master office and remodel old building, or, tear it down, put a park in? So originally, I know when I did the staff walkthrough last year or the year before, I guess it was the year before, there had been discussion maybe of a laundromat or something, like larger bathrooms and a laundromat, because there's a need from that whole population of the boating people. But now with COVID, there's something else that sort of weighs on my mind, and that's more usable outdoor spaces, pavilion-like spaces that are usable maybe three seasons of the year. So there's some things to talk about in terms of what happens to the old space.
Yeah. A covered area does sound really nice, as like a waiting area for people downtown, if there was a place where people could stay dry with bathrooms, and it could also be like a venue for events.
Right, and the park, there's a little park with the flags, and yeah.
But that's a discussion for another time,
Yeah,
and it's really
but-
fun to think about. But I think, yes, Norm, thank you for bringing that up. I think that was really good. If anyone has any discussion on either of the capital improvement plans, any more discussion from anyone there? All right, seeing and hearing none, we will move on to item 5. Review the status of committees and take action. So we have two options here. We can reappoint committee members or sunset the committees. And we have a great memo in our packet from Deputy Clerk Stollard before she went on leave. So in here, she gives who the current members are of each of our committees, and I will just read those into the record now. So we have the Climate Action Plan Committee, which consists of Board Member Paquette, Board Member Jaffa, and myself. We have the Seward Harbor and SMIC Development Committee, which consists of Board Member Hughes, Board Member Lawrence, and myself. And the Energy Ad Hoc Committee, consisting of Board Member Smith, Board Member Hughes, and Board Member Paquette. One question I have for the clerk is if a member is not here, can we still reappoint them to a committee without their consent?
That is an excellent question, Chair. I'm not sure.
Okay, so here's what I recommend we do. That if we decide to keep the if we vote to keep the committees, we keep them with their current members, and if anyone wants to leave the committee at any time, they just let us know that they want to leave the committee. Does that sound,
I would like to make a motion that we leave all 3 committees exactly as they are for another year.
Okay,
I'll second that.
second? Okay. Any discussion on that? Board Member Hughes, you're a member of 2 of these committees. Are you happy with keeping things as they are?
Oh, yeah, I'm very happy. Obviously, I have interest in the SMIC and harbor development. Also, I'm a key fan of the energy and possibilities in the community of Seward.
Excellent. Well, let me take this opportunity, since most of our members are here that are on these committees. Thank you for all of the time. Oh, this is the whole Energy Committee. Thank you to the Energy Committee so much for the time that you put in this year. The things that we accomplished would not have been possible without that time you guys put in outside of these meetings. I am so grateful to you all. The Climate Action Planning Committee is really getting revved up again, and I'm very excited about that too. We have a lot of community involvement. So I am very on board with keeping things as they are. Next year, since we're going to have both the harbor plan and the SMIC development plan up for review not renewal, that's not the right word. Basically, we're rewriting them and resubmitting them to council. Those are 2 really big projects that are also going to take significant time outside of these meetings. So I think it's important to keep that committee going as well. So if there's no other discussion, we can vote on the motion to keep all 3 of our committees with their current members intact going into 2021. Does that sound good? Madam Clerk, could we get a roll call vote?
Yep, to keep the committees as they are with the current members for the next year. Smith?
Yes.
Lemus? Oh, she's off the phone. Hughes?
Yes.
Paquette?
Yes.
Chair Snyder?
Yes.
Very unanimous.
All right. Thank you. So that leaves us with one additional discussion item, discussing the virtual energy fair, and we just put this back on here so that we could loop back and discuss any updates that you have. Board Member Smith, Paquette, do either of you have anything to?
No significant updates. I did start some conversation with Jason at the chamber. I guess one comment is I still feel like this group is an advisory group and not an organizing group, and we really need a energy champion organization. I don't know what the appropriate way to recruit for that position would be, but
Right.
that's all I have. Thank you.
Yeah.
And my thoughts are, I think where we are is the next step is to develop some questions, to do a community survey, so that if we do some kind of energy fair, we're meeting the needs of the community and the interests of the community, as opposed to just doing something we think people want. So that's, I think, the next step, and I apologize, I have not had chance to meet with Ben and work on those questions, and I know Carl's been gone, so.
No apologies necessary. This is a difficult time of year with COVID and with holidays, and there's a lot going on. So yeah, I think that we're still making progress forward. And again, I appreciate the time you guys have put in, and maybe now that Carl's back, you guys might have a chance to meet the 3 of you and to look into. I happened to stop by to finance after our last meeting while it was fresh on my mind, and they do have the ability, because the bills are all put into a machine that folds and stuffs them in the envelopes. There is the ability to add something, like to add a piece of paper in there, but I don't know what the cost of that is.
Okay.
But again, that could be something that could potentially come out of PACAB's budget if it's something we feel strongly about, to let people know that the survey exists, to try to get the most community involvement
Right.
in it. So that's an option that exists, but I don't know the cost of it. And I'll continue to follow up with that. The finance director wasn't in, and I forgot to send an email, so I will give myself another reminder to do that now. Okay, so any other discussion on the energy fair, or shall we just loop back to this again at a future meeting?
Yeah, I think we should revisit again.
Okay.
We've got a chance to reconvene the subcommittee and.
Okay. Would you like to add it as a discussion item at the end of new business on our next agenda, or February? Would you like a little bit more time to work on things?
I think January. I mean, we should,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
January.
So, Madam Clerk, could you just make note to put a discussion item on our January agenda?
I sure will.
Excellent. Thank you. Well, that is the end of new business. We have in informational items and reports, we have our city calendar in there. Citizen comments. Do we have
I do not have any closing citizen comments.
No closing citizen comments. Okay, that brings us to board and administration comments and response to citizen comments. So I'd like to do something a little out of order here, and I would like to make a comment on something, and then I'd love to hear from you guys on your thoughts on this. This is coming out of the Climate Action Planning Committee. There's an organization called ICLEI. It's an international organization of communities, bringing communities together. They have this 5-step process for climate resilience. Basically, it's identifying, I will not remember these correctly off the top of my head, but I'm going to try. It's like identifying your carbon footprint, the first is committing to being a climate resilient community, then identifying your carbon footprint, making a commitment to reduce it, making a plan to do that, and then following up with data to make sure that you're meeting those goals that you've made for yourself. This is an organization that, as we've been looking at the climate action plans of other communities around the state, they have all joined this organization because it gives you a wealth of resources. They have people that you can reach out to. They have these a vast online trove of resources. They have some software that you can use to help you find what your carbon footprint currently is. I think it's a really valuable resource that, in speaking with other communities, they have also found really valuable. At this time, I do not know the exact cost. It is somewhere between $200 and $600 for Seward to sign on. That's depending upon how they find the data for what our median local income is, because it's a sliding scale based on your population and the median income. And so I'm waiting to hear back from them on where Seward exactly falls on that scale. But in speaking with the clerk beforehand, she said that if we could kind of get unanimous consent here that the board thinks that this would be a good thing for some of PACAB's budget to go towards, that once we have more details, we can bring that back, but this would allow us to expend those funds out of this year's budget. So in your closing comments, if you could just give me any thoughts that you have on that, I would really appreciate it. We'll go to administration first.
Closing thoughts on just the whole?
On everything, closing
okay.
comments, but if you have things to say about the ICLEI membership, that would be great as well.
Yeah, if you guys want to do that, and if you have it in your budget, then, it'd definitely help if you have it, you don't have to reinvent the wheel here. It'd be really helpful. I think, board member Paquette got some from somebody else before, got some information. We did a flyer, if I remember right, and that went out. So something like that, that we can just, have them help out, and I think it'd be worth it.
Yeah.
So on harbor stuff, I know my crew's been working a lot of hours with the snow and rain, and we're a little short-handed. They were kind of wore out here the last few days. Trying to also get ready for, we had 350-ton boat lifts that were scheduled, and this time of year it's hard, and the guys, they worked really hard and got it ready to go, and so I think they're doing one today, and had a couple. We canceled a couple. Well, they canceled first the other day because they're really too bad. But anyways, and got the harbor cleared, the docks cleared. Helping folks out. And if you see something, if I actually went around the other day and the guys missed one section of boardwalk. It's just one little thing. If you see something, please give me a call. We can get to it right away, and that's one thing I like to do is just take care of all those little problems that pop up. Like,
Thank you. Board Member Hughes, any closing comments?
Yes, well, first off, it's great to be back after 2 months of basically busting my hump, getting a remodel job done. I'm back here in Seward where I belong, and I'm catching up on everything. This virtual energy fair was first I heard of it, so we have to get caught up on that. Also, is there any information that can be forwarded to the board members on this? I can't remember the exact nomenclature you used with this group that a lot of other climate action committees have joined outside. It'd be nice to have some information so that you can make an informed decision on a recommendation. Other than that, hey, it's nice to see you all again. Oh, there is one other thing. I was thinking, one of the things I learned outside was that there was real easy way to access the internet using the cellular towers, and so I actually purchased the item that allows me to have Wi-Fi wherever I go. And it works really well. What about, has the PACCAB explored the option of doing Zoom for their meetings? And that, I'll leave it with that.
I know that the city does not do Zoom.
Actually.
so yeah, so I can or the clerk can tell. So P&Z tried it last night.
Okay.
It seemed to work okay. They had a couple bugs to work out, but they're working on it. That was a start. So I know that it's been discussed with council to do it. So it's something we can look at here also.
Okay.
And the clerk can get with Dustin, and we can go from there. And,
It is something that the clerk and IT has been working in union with.
Perfect.
And the test case was P&Z last night. So I don't have a current update for when it will be implemented through council and the other commissions and boards yet. But my surmising would be possibly in January.
Brilliant.
If not, maybe earlier. So
That's
might even,
so exciting.
Might be next month, but I don't know for sure. I haven't been updated on all that yet. So,
that's
wonderful.
Madam Chair, in response to that, it would allow me the option to virtually attend all the meetings and not miss any in a 12-month period.
Yeah, and I think that that's a discussion that I really look forward to hearing more about. That right now we're in special times and we have these special rules in place, but how this might change how we do things going forward, and if we'll continue to offer that flexibility. I know in the past people could join telephonically but couldn't vote and weren't part of a quorum. So yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I think that this has shown that it's really nice to have that flexibility, and so it would be interesting to be part of those discussions moving forward of how things change.
Madam Chair, there is a additional possibility for additional citizen comments to happen during the meeting.
Oh, nice.
That's still something they're working on. It is going to require additional staff to be at the meeting, because obviously we'll be busy clerking. We won't be able to watch Zoom at the same time to see if somebody's quote-unquote raising their hand.
Right.
So IT will be requiring to have additional staff at the meeting, so there'll be additional time involved with that.
Okay. Good to know. Thanks for that great update. Great question, Carl. Board Member Smith.
All right, thank you. I'd like to extend appreciation to P&D engineers for their excellent presentation on these plans. And option 2, I think almost everybody here seemed to agree. It looks like it would be a really nice solution there for the north ramp. And anytime we can pave those gravel lots, I think the community benefits as a whole. So that's the dust from that has always been an issue. So I like seeing that done. Let's see, and thanks to the fire chief for giving his thoughts on expansion over there. And as we expand, that is one of the things where you can go years, as he said he hasn't seen a house fire, but when there is one, You really appreciate having those resources and having them funded and with the crews available. And expanding a shipyard is a significant step in this town. So I'd like to hopefully see that on the agenda again, and extend whatever support we can to make sure they get the resources they need. And on your ICLEI recommendation, I don't have any familiarity with that organization. I'd like to do some more research, but I do recognize the importance of belonging to professional organizations that share those common interests and resources. So it sounds good, and if it looks like it's generally accepted in Alaska communities for the climate action plan, I would tend to support that. Thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Paquette.
Okay, I have a whole bunch of comments here. Let's see, and they're not going to be in any kind of order, so I apologize for that. So I'd like to thank the Chamber for helping facilitate the Climate Action Committee with Zoom moving forward. That's going to be a wonderful tool for us to be able to use, and I really appreciate the Chamber being willing to do that. And they're also going to be helping with the Energy Fair and the survey, I believe, as well. So thank you again to Jason and the staff there for that. Thank you to P&D for the presentation on the North Ramp. I think option 2 looks great. Just so that everybody in the public is aware, public comments are open until January 4th on this. You can call 561-1011. Nathan Harris is the person to speak to, or you can email him at nharris@pndengineers.com, or you can pick up a comment form at the Harbor Master. So everybody that uses this ramp should give their input. Okay, that's that. I'm excited that the city is eventually, or embracing Zoom now. And I understand from Brenda that the issue in the past has always been security issues that now Zoom has addressed. And I just wonder if, maybe this wouldn't be something that you would want a volunteer to do, but maybe you could get a volunteer from the high school to come and monitor the Zoom meetings. From a civic engagement point of view, as a training option maybe. Because every time we say it requires more staff, that means, we're cutting into budgeting. I would say yes to ICLEI. And for those on the board, if you can just Google that acronym and the website will come up. But I think that's, I am in agreement that if we have money in the budget left for this year, that we should go ahead and pay them the $200 to $600, whatever it falls into. Okay, got those. Thank you to the electric department for everything that they've been doing since Thursday. I know that they've been just working so hard with all these power outages. Thank you to the fire chief for coming and all of his input on the on SMIC, and I'm in full support of getting a station over there. Carl, I'm curious what that device is that you got. Matt, sorry to hear about your pacemaker, and I wish you a speedy recovery. Stephen, at the last council meeting, you mentioned that there's a deaf person in the community, and I wonder if there might be some CARES money or grant money available for some of those clear masks as a solution, maybe the community should look at sponsoring an American Sign Language class. I think it would be really cool if Seward could promote itself as a deaf-friendly community. If enough people sign, I've always wanted to learn it, so that would be that. And then my last comment is the lagoon is still stinking out at Low Point, and it really is making life very unpleasant. Still problems, still issues. And I know that there had been some mention that maybe you could get Lauren Lehman to come and speak to us. And my concern about that is Lauren Lehman is the consultant who allowed the city to allow that thing to break and go anaerobic and produce hydrogen sulfide for more than 1 year. So I really don't understand the logic of using the same consultant. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's start with ICLEI. So I completely understand the reluctance of the members of the board to want to expend funds without learning more. I do understand that this was kind of a way that the clerk said if we could get unanimous consent, we could go ahead and do it, but otherwise we can call a special meeting. So I think that's probably what I'll do is call a special meeting before our work session on the 16th so that we can officially, so that we'll have a packet and we can officially allocate those funds. So just be expecting that. I don't know if we'll move the work session. We'll probably move the work session later because I know it's hard for people to get here before noon. So we'll probably do special meeting at noon and potentially move the work session time. But I'll have to work with the clerk's office on that. So that being said, that means that our work session time is going to be compressed, and this next work session is the one where we talk about our goals and priorities for the following year. So if everyone could do their homework on that, and when the clerk sends out the list beforehand of what we have had this past year, if you guys could come with your notes and your ideas and be ready for that discussion, that would be awesome so that we can get through a lot, because we really do want to get those solidified so that at our January meeting we can pass and approve them so that they can go to council in February. So we really do have just that next meeting to talk about this, so the more we can do beforehand, the better. I'd also like to announce that, as Linda said, the Chamber has so graciously offered to host the Climate Action Planning Committee meetings on Zoom. And we're having our committee as a whole meetings the 4th Tuesday of each month at 6 p.m. via Zoom. And that link will be sent out via the clerk's distribution list. It's being sent out and advertised by the Chamber. And then I also have a mailing list that I'm keeping separately for anyone that wants to be part of the Climate Action Planning Committee. My email address is laura.schneider@mac.com. That's laura.schneider@mac.com. And if you would like to be on that mailing list, please email me and I will put you on the distribution list so that you can know about all of the upcoming meetings. The link for all of the Zoom meetings is the same. So once you have it once, if you want to save that, it's actually the link for each meeting. And I'll resend it out, but if you miss it for any reason, that's how you can get plugged back in for that. Thank you to everyone who came and spoke today. I am, as I said, I am overly excited, I think, about the planning process in the next year. I think it's really exciting. We get the chance to work on both the harbor plan and the SMIC plan in the same year, especially because the harbor has done such amazing work to accomplish so many things that now we get to look forward. We get to say, hey, these are all the great things that we've done. Now where do we want to go from here? And that's always a really fun and enlightening process. So I am looking forward to that in the upcoming months. So thank you specifically to PND Engineers for coming down and to Chief Kreitz for being here and giving that great input, which we have been lacking the last few times we reviewed the plan. I'm glad we got the opportunity to speak with him. I think that's all I have. Everyone, I hope you had a great Thanksgiving and that you enjoy this holiday month. I'll see you again on the 16th, and beyond that, we have our next regular meeting in January. I'm not sure of the date, but the first Wednesday in January. Is it on there?
The 6th.
The 6th. Yeah, so our next regular meeting will be the 6th, but we can anticipate having a special meeting on the 16th of this month before our work session.
And I think that should only take 5 minutes.
I think we have to go, because it's a meeting, we have to go through the agenda and we'll have a comment period, but I think we can get through it quite quickly. Yeah. Okay, thank you everyone for your time. Have a great rest of your week. Adjourned at 2:14.